I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music. Today, to end our set of 10 albums in this filming session, we're going to do a request by a guy named Jacob. That's a great name, by the way. Jacob won the album riddle. Fun little game we play every 2 weeks when we're building our schedule. Tom puts up a couple of of his album riddles that he's been writing lately because we're nerds and we like riddles, and we think that this is a really fun kind of puzzle-esque side of things that we can have for a unique idea and that get more people involved, and also get people to go to our Facebook and Twitter accounts, because that's where we do a lot of our interaction in talking about albums, which is the whole point of this website. So look for that, because you know, every 2 weeks it's usually going to happen. We'll usually post them Monday, Tuesday. Tom will post on Facebook, hey, we're going to do album riddles, and then you guys got to be on there, because it's the first person who gets them all right. They get carte blanche choice of whatever album they want. We will review it. I don't care how crazy it is. I don't care how shitty it is. I don't care how amazing it is. I don't care what it is. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. We're that crazy. We are crazy folks. Yep. And so this one, I've never heard of Pain of Salvation before. Road Salt 1 was the album of choice, and I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit. The first thing I did, I pushed play on this one once Tom got it into me in our Dropbox folder, and it, you know, it was no way. Track 1 came on, and I was like, wow, it's Nickelback, because that's what I thought the vocals sound like. But then quickly I realized that this is so much superior. Which honestly, in my opinion, Nickelback's the worst thing in music. It's literally there. I don't think there's a worse band out there. Even Bieber's better. But honestly, I got away from that thought right away, just because you know, it just, to me, there's so much more songwriting here. There's so much more intensity here. There's so much more dynamics and vocal quality and instrumentation than in anything else in a pop or popular rock scene. And while that's, you know, all true and good and stuff, I do think that this gets a little indulgent on time. I'll get more into that in a second. I'm really interested in letting Tom explain his thoughts on this album, because I feel like, Tom, you and I kind of came from the same angle and had the same criticisms.
Very similar. My experience with this album, I had no idea what to expect. I checked them out on AllMusic. I always love doing that, just to get an idea for how many albums a band has, what kind of stuff they've done, where they're from, how long they've been around.
Great research.
Great resource for that. So I checked it out, and I expected this to be more metal than it was, just because AllMusic's depiction of them made it seem that way. Right. So I put it on, and I was like, this is not what I was expecting at all, because it's not...
Pain of Salvation. That sounds like a metal band.
Oh, totally. But
Death Spell Omega.
Yeah, but this is like... it's not that at all. It's very dramatic, but things are very clean.
It's
well produced. Yeah, there's lots of like bluesy, kind of like Eric Clapton type guitar lines on here, but it's presented in such a different context, and it's so dramatic. What really made me like this album is I had to think of it in the context of like I was listening to the soundtrack of a musical.
Perfect analogy.
And it actually works. It's not too much of a stretch, because
there's so much variety.
Well, not only that, but the band intended for it to be a concept album, and which actually I guess the second part is supposed to come out this year, so we'll have to check that out when it comes out.
I was wondering that with the Road Salt 1.
Yeah. So you know, it was intended to be listen to like that, because there are a lot of different themes that are recurring, and not necessarily like characters, but I mean, like, you listen to track 6, Sleeping Under the Stars, so dramatic of a track, but it sounds like there's a chorus of characters from Aladdin that could be singing that or something.
Absolutely.
You know, like that's the vibe I get, and so listening to that in that context, like more of a rock band format of like Jesus Christ Superstar, but with different themes. That's what it felt like to me. And once I listened to it in that context, I liked it a lot more, because the drama of it seemed to be dumbed down a little bit. Now it still is very dramatic, over the top.
This whole album is very dramatic, and almost to the point, to me, it was without warrant. But if this is a concept album, especially a 2-part concept album, you know, while that could be a minor criticism now, if the second part comes along, that warrant could be established just in the fact that there's a part and a storyline, so that could go away. And I could end up liking this album even more than I already do now, just because of that. let me tell you something. This album, the diversity showed. I mean, there is some ballads here, like the track 3, Sisters. It gets intense at the end, but it starts off as this moody piano ballad, and then track 11, Road Salt, is this keyed ballad. I like that diversity in the types of songs that you hear. It helps add a lot of variety and helps the album flow nicely. But this thing rocks your socks off. Track 8, Linoleum. For one thing, I thought I was listening to Soundgarden at the time. I mean, I love that track. That is the one track that was the clear highlight to me on this album. And I just love the intensity that this album has, and a lot of good songwriting, a lot of big builds. They knew how to provide lots of interesting dynamics. I thought that this has what?
I just looked.
Track 10, Where It Hurts. That track, there's this chorus and he goes, "Touch me where it hurts," and he's like, it's super dramatic, but then he like does it in this super high flow, "Touch me where it hurts," and it's super dramatic. And I wrote a note that says, "Please, Tom, do it."
And I'm sorry to break up the review like that.
But that's kind of our point. That does lead. That's actually a good thing to point out, because it does bring up our point that the line "touch me where it hurts," yes, is meaningful and powerful, but at the same time, that's a really dramatic way of approaching it. And just without the songs written, without that warrant of the overall arching musical concept album, it does come off a little cheesy. And that's the only weakness of this album, in my opinion. And I think that will be much less of a weakness with the second part. So I'm really interested to see what the second part of this is and what happens with it, which is super exciting to me. So right now I'm sitting at an 80.
I'm also sitting at an 80.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I think for most people, this will seem pretty tacky at first, but once you dive into the concepts of it and just the great songwriting, instrumentation, variety. One thing I really like is there's the variety in the track lengths.
Right.
That helps break things up a lot, and the pacing doesn't get stale. I think you'll find there are a lot of things. Jacob, thank you for getting us into this album, and also now giving us another album to anticipate for this year.
Well, now we'll seek that album out when it comes out. So
Yeah,
that was a really good request, and that's another thing why we love doing the album riddles, is it's always good for us to have something that just comes out of left field that one of our fans wants us to listen to, and it's a blast. So thank you, we appreciate that. As always, leave us a comment on what you guys thought of Pain of Salvation. If you've heard of this band, we hadn't, which we listen to a lot of music, so it's good to hear stuff that we don't know about. So please leave us a comment at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. It's very important, especially if you want to participate in the album riddles, that you follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook, because that's where we'll notify you of our album riddle game when it happens, which is once every 2 weeks. So it'll be like Monday is May 13, 15, something like that.
I'll probably be putting up a couple more soon. But by the time you see this, it'll be long gone.
Yeah. So and actually, this album will come out on a Tuesday, which is probably around the time when this will come out. So if you're viewing this on the day it comes out, it's probably today that we're pushing out the album riddle. So make sure you follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and check out Ian's Tumblr blog at vimtv.tumblr.com. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
You are VIMTV, and together we are moving music critique forward.